I never thought one harmless lie would burn my entire life down. My name's William. I'm 43, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had a perfect marriage. Emily and I built everything together: our home, our little bakery downtown, even the routines that made life feel safe. Until that one Wednesday morning, when curiosity and doubt got the best of me. It started with silence. The kind that sneaks into a house even when someone's talking. Lately, Emily's voice had become quieter, her eyes somewhere else. She'd smile, but only with her mouth. I tried to ignore it. I told myself we were just tired, business, bills, life. But something inside me kept whispering, she's hiding something. Then came the trip. My company was sending me to Chicago for a week to finalize a contract. Emily said she couldn't go because of a church charity drive. Nothing strange about that. She's always been the kind to bake cookies for fundraisers. Still, that whisper in my head didn't stop. The night before leaving, she packed my suitcase for me. She even slipped a note inside. "Come back safe. I'll miss you." It should have melted me. Instead, it felt rehearsed. At 6 a.m. the next day, I kissed her goodbye, loaded my luggage in the trunk, and drove off like I always did. But halfway down the highway, I pulled over, killed the engine, and just sat there. My brother's voice echoed in my mind from the week before. "If you think something's off, Will, find out. Don't let it rot you from the inside." So I made a stupid decision, the kind that changes everything. I checked into a cheap motel a few miles outside town, left my car hidden behind the building, and waited. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to see what she'd do when she thought I was gone. I parked 2 blocks from my house and walked the rest of the way. Every step felt heavier than the last. From across the street, our windows looked calm, curtains drawn, just like any ordinary day. I went around the side gate and slipped through the backyard, quiet as I could. Through the kitchen window, I saw her, wearing that same blue apron she always used when she baked. Flour on her hands, phone pressed between her shoulder and ear. I smiled at first, thinking maybe she was calling the charity group. But then I froze. Her voice, soft, trembling, different. "I can't talk long. Yes, he's gone. A whole week this time." My heart hammered so loud I was sure she'd hear it. Then she laughed. A laugh I hadn't heard in months. "You know I miss you too, but not now, not yet." She turned, and for a second I saw her reflection in the oven glass, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me for years. I took a step back, my boots scraping against the gravel. She stopped talking. Her head turned slowly toward the window. Our eyes almost met through the curtain slit. I ducked down, pressing myself against the cold wall, barely breathing. That's when I heard another sound inside the house. A man's voice. I don't remember how long I stayed crouched behind that wall. Maybe a minute, maybe 10. Every sound from inside the house scraped against my chest. My own heartbeat was so loud I drowned out everything else. I told myself I was wrong, that maybe she was on speakerphone. Maybe the voice I heard was a video, a show, anything. But deep down, I already knew the truth was about to walk straight into my face. I peered through the narrow gap between the curtains. Emily stood by the counter, still holding her phone, but now there was someone else in the kitchen with her. A man. He was tall, maybe mid-30s, wearing a gray shirt I'd never seen before. He moved like he'd been there before, too comfortable for a stranger. He poured him coffee, my coffee mug, the one with the chipped handle I'd had since college. He took it, smiled, and said something I couldn't hear. She laughed, again. That same sound that used to pull me out of the worst days now felt like a knife. My throat burned. I wanted to storm in right then, to scream, to ask why, but my legs wouldn't move. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, shaking so hard the screen nearly slipped from my hand. I started recording through the crack in the curtain. Proof, I told myself. Proof I wasn't crazy. The man leaned closer, brushed a strand of hair off her face, and kissed her. And she didn't pull away. She let him. She closed her eyes. Something inside me snapped. The sound that came out of me wasn't even human. Half gasp, half growl. She must have heard it because her head jerked toward the window again. I dropped down fast, heart pounding against the dirt. I couldn't let her see me. Not yet. I crawled back toward the side gate, my mind spinning. Every memory, every promise, every I love you we'd ever said was crashing into pieces inside my skull. By the time I reached my car, my hands were trembling so bad I could barely start the engine. But I didn't leave. I sat there staring at the house, watching the man's car parked 2 driveways down, a black sedan. I didn't recognize the plates, but I memorized them anyway. Minutes turned into an hour. Then the front door opened. The man walked out first, adjusting his shirt like someone who'd just made himself at home. Emily stood at the doorway watching him go. She touched her lips when he turned the corner, then went back inside. That was the moment something colder than anger took over me. It wasn't rage, it was clarity. I needed to know everything. Who he was, how long, why. I followed him. He drove across town, stopped outside the very place I never would have guessed. The bakery. Our bakery. My name still painted on the sign above the door. He unlocked the back door with his own key. I parked half a block away, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My whole body felt wired, electric. How did he have a key? How long had this been going on right under my nose? I thought about calling her, or maybe walking in and ending it all right there. But something told me to wait, to gather proof, to see just how deep this betrayal went. I took out my phone again and hit record, whispering into the mic, March 11th, 2:47 p.m. Emily's lover, unknown male, black sedan, works at our bakery. I watched him through the bakery window. He went straight to the back office, sat in my chair, the one with my jacket still hanging behind it. Then he opened the drawer, the one where I kept the safe key, and he pulled something out. At first I thought it was just papers, but then the light hit metal. A ring. My father's ring, the one Emily swore she had lost last year. That's when my breath caught. Because suddenly, I wasn't sure if this was just about cheating anymore. There was something else going on, something planned. And before I could even process it, my phone buzzed. It was Emily. "Hey, honey, did you land yet?" Her voice was calm, sweet, like nothing had happened. I stared at her name flashing on the screen while I watched her lover sit in my office, wearing my ring. I let the phone ring once, twice, 3 times, and I whispered to myself, "Not yet, Emily, not yet." The call went to voicemail. I stared at her name on the screen until it faded out. My hand was trembling, but my mind felt ice cold. The moment she lied to my face, pretending I was hundreds of miles away, it killed whatever warmth was left in me. But that ring, that was what really tore something open inside my chest. My father's ring wasn't just gold and metal, it was heritage. It was the only thing he'd left me before he passed, a symbol of trust, responsibility, legacy. Emily had cried the day she said she lost it at the bakery. I'd searched every corner for weeks. And now,
watching that man wear it like it was his. Something told me this went beyond betrayal. I stepped out of the car, keeping my head low as I crossed the street. The bakery's back door was half open. I knew the sound of that hinge, had meant to oil it for months. I slipped inside quietly, my shoes sinking into the faint layer of flour dust on the floor. The smell of baked bread mixed with something else, aftershave that wasn't mine. From the office, I heard their voices, Emily's and his. She must have come there after calling me. "You shouldn't have called him. You're going to make him suspicious." "Relax," Emily whispered. "He won't know. He's on his way to Chicago. We have time." I pressed my back against the wall, peeking through the tiny crack in the office door. She was standing right in front of my desk, her hands trembling as she counted a small pile of cash, our bakery's savings envelope. The man was beside her, still wearing my father's ring, eyes darting toward the safe. "Are you sure about this?" she asked him. "Once we get the cash, we're done. You'll come with me, right?" I can't believe I'm doing this," she whispered, looking down. Her voice cracked. For a split second, I thought maybe she felt guilty, but then she said something that froze me to the bone. "He's been too trusting. He won't even realize what happened until we're long gone." That was it. Not just betrayal. It was theft, a setup. She was planning to clean out everything we'd built and disappear. I pushed the door open, slowly, quietly. Every step I took felt like I was walking through a dream that had already turned into a nightmare. Then my foot hit a loose board. It creaked. They both spun around, Emily's face drained of color. "William?" The man took a step forward, his jaw tightening. I didn't say a word. My eyes went straight to that ring on his hand. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. "You lost that ring, didn't you?" I said quietly. She stammered. "Will, please, it's not—" I interrupted. "How long have you been lying to me?" Her lips trembled, but no words came out. The man moved subtly, like he was trying to position himself between us. Instinct kicked in. I raised my voice for the first time. "Don't move!" He froze, but his hand drifted toward his jacket pocket. That's when I saw it. A flash of metal. A gun. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Emily gasped, "What are you doing?" The man barked. "He wasn't supposed to see this. We need to go, now." He grabbed her wrist and yanked her toward the back door. I lunged forward, catching her other arm. The cash scattered across the floor like falling snow. "Emily," I shouted, "look at me!" She did, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not fear of him, fear of me. He shoved me hard, sending me against the desk. My phone hit the ground, screen cracking. Before I could get up, they were halfway through the door. The sound of tires screeching outside made my blood run cold. I stumbled out after them, just in time to see that same black sedan tearing down the street. In the middle of the road lay something small, glinting in the sunlight. I bent down and picked it up. It was the ring, still warm, still carrying the scent of her hand lotion. And right then, standing in that empty street, I realized this wasn't over, because if they thought I'd just let them vanish with my life's work, they didn't know the man they'd betrayed. The ring was warm in my palm, heavy like the truth I'd just uncovered. I could still smell Emily's perfume on the metal, that same lavender scent she always wore on Sundays. For a moment, I just stood there in the middle of the street, watching that black sedan disappear at the end of the block, the sound of its tires echoing against the empty buildings. Every instinct in me said, let them go, call the police, hand it over. But something stronger than reason was pulsing through my veins, betrayal mixed with fury. I'd given her half my life, half my soul, and now she was running away with some stranger who'd stolen everything I owned. I jumped into my car, engine roaring, heart pounding hard enough to rattle my ribs. I didn't even think. I just followed. The sky was bruised purple, the sun dipping low behind the grain silos as I sped through the back roads. Every curve of the town felt different now, like I'd crossed into another version of my own life, one where love was a lie and trust was poison. The sedan stayed ahead of me, weaving through traffic like it knew exactly where it was going. I kept a few cars behind, headlights off, breathing through my teeth. Then, at the turnoff near Highway 19, the car slowed and took a dirt road toward the old warehouse district, a part of town nobody went to anymore. They stopped near a storage unit. No lights, no people, just that black car and two silhouettes stepping out. I parked far enough not to be seen and killed the engine. My hands were still gripping the ring so tight it left a mark in my skin. I watched as the man opened the trunk and started unloading something. Boxes. Heavy ones. Emily helped, her face pale in the dim glow of his flashlight. My blood ran cold when I recognized the print on the boxes. Our bakery's logo. Flour sacks, sugar bags, supplies.
They weren't stealing cash. They were moving everything. Our ingredients, our stock, maybe even our client records. They were trying to rebuild our bakery somewhere else. Without me. The man slammed the trunk shut and lit a cigarette, the flame flashing just enough for me to see his face clearly this time. My stomach turned. I knew him. His name was Jason Miller. He'd worked for us 2 years ago, our delivery guy. I fired him after he was caught skimming money from the till. Emily had begged me not to, said he just needed another chance. I'd trusted her. Now he was here. I pulled out my phone and started filming again, zooming in on their faces. The evidence was right there. Theft, betrayal, conspiracy. I was done being the fool. I was about to call 911 when I saw something that made my finger freeze above the screen. Jason opened one of the boxes and pulled out a small metal case. Not part of our supplies. He cracked it open, and even from a distance, the reflection hit my eyes. Stacks of money. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Emily said we were struggling with bills for months. She'd even convinced me to take a loan. But now I understood. She'd been bleeding the business dry slowly, funneling the cash away for this. I felt my whole world tilt sideways. My phone buzzed suddenly, the vibration slicing through the quiet night. I looked down. Unknown number. I silenced it immediately, but it was too late. Jason turned, scanning the darkness with narrowed eyes. "You hear that?" he said. "Probably just a raccoon," Emily whispered, her voice shaking. But he wasn't convinced. He grabbed a flashlight and started walking toward the road, toward me. I ducked behind a pile of crates, breath held, trying not to make a sound. His footsteps crunched closer and closer on the gravel. I could see the beam of light moving across the ground, cutting through the shadows. Then it stopped, right on my car's bumper. I clenched my fists. If he saw the license plate, it was over. But before he could take another step, a sound echoed from deeper inside the warehouse, a metallic thud, like something falling. Jason turned his flashlight toward it, muttering a curse, and ran back inside. Emily stayed behind, looking nervous, checking her phone. That's when I noticed something odd. She wasn't texting him. She was recording something. Her phone was aimed at the boxes, at him. For a moment, confusion flickered through me. Was she filming evidence or documenting their escape? Before I could make sense of it, headlights flashed at the end of the dirt road. Another car was approaching fast. Emily's head snapped up. She pocketed her phone, grabbed one of the boxes, and ran toward the new car. I couldn't see who was driving, but when the door opened, a familiar voice shouted, "Hurry, Emily, we don't have long." It wasn't Jason's voice. It was someone else. Someone I'd known even longer. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. That voice, it couldn't be him. But as the second car's headlights washed over the gravel, I saw the driver step out, and every muscle in my body went numb. It was Daniel.
my best friend since college, the man who stood beside me at my wedding, the one who helped me build the bakery from the ground up before he moved away last year for a better job in Nashville. I remember watching him put his hand on my shoulder that last day, saying, "You're like my brother, Will. Don't ever forget that." And now there he was, in the middle of nowhere, under a black sky, helping my wife and the man she cheated with load stolen goods into his car. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as anger rose up like wildfire. Emily ran toward Daniel, clutching a small box. "You came," she whispered, breathless. "Of course I did," he said, looking over her shoulder. "Where's the rest?" Jason emerged from the shadows then, dragging the last crate behind him. He looked confused when he saw Daniel. "Who the hell are you?" "The one cleaning up your mess," Daniel replied coldly. Emily stepped between them. "He's the investor, the one who's been helping with the money." Investor. My stomach twisted. That loan we'd taken. She hadn't gone through a bank, she'd gone through him, through my best friend. I could barely breathe. My mind started piecing together the puzzle. The missing cash, the hidden phone calls, the late nights at the bakery. It wasn't an affair that started last week. This had been building for months. Daniel glanced around nervously. "We don't have time. Load everything in my car. I'll handle the rest from here." But Jason hesitated, his voice low and sharp. "And what about me? We had a deal." "You get paid when we're gone," Daniel said flatly. But Jason didn't like that answer. His jaw clenched. He reached into his jacket pocket again, that same pocket where I'd seen the gun before. Emily noticed it too. "Jason, don't!" For a split second, everything froze. The air, the sound, even time itself. Then Jason's voice cracked like glass. "You think you're gonna cut me out after everything I did?" He grabbed Emily's arm and yanked her toward him. Daniel shouted, "Let her go!" and stepped forward. And that's when I moved, without thinking.
3 heads turned at once. The shock on their faces almost made the whole world stand still. Emily's eyes widened, tears spilling down her cheeks. "William, what are you—" Jason snarled. "You followed us?" He raised the gun. I dove forward, tackling him hard. The weapon clattered across the ground and went sliding under Daniel's car. We both hit the dirt, rolling. Jason swung first, landing a punch that split my lip, but rage made me stronger. I grabbed his collar, slammed him against the gravel, and yelled, "How long, Emily? How long have you been lying to me?" She screamed my name, but I didn't stop. Jason shoved me off, scrambling toward the gun, but Daniel reached it first. He pointed it right at him. "Don't move," Daniel said, voice trembling. "You've done enough." Jason froze, breathing hard. For a second, the only sound was the wind rushing through the broken windows of the warehouse. Then blue and red lights flashed at the far end of the road. Police sirens. Emily gasped. "Oh my God!" Daniel's face went pale. "You called them?" "I haven't." But then Emily took a step forward and whispered, "I did." I stared at her, confusion cutting through the anger. "What?" She swallowed hard, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You weren't supposed to see any of this. I didn't want you to find out this way. Daniel was helping me catch Jason. He's been stealing from us for months. I pretended to go along with him to get proof." The words slammed into me like a wave. "You expect me to believe that?" "It's true," she cried. "The ring, the money, everything. It was a setup, but not for you, for him." Jason snarled, "She's lying!" and lunged toward her, but the police were already there. Shouts filled the air, orders to get down, lights blinding all of us. In seconds, officers had Jason pinned to the ground. The gun was kicked away, and his wrists were cuffed. Daniel dropped the weapon, his hands shaking. Emily stood frozen, her face pale under the flashing lights. I just stood there, silent, watching as the life I thought I understood unravel right in front of me. When an officer approached, asking if I was the owner of the bakery, I couldn't even answer. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Because even as they led Jason away, even as Emily whispered that it was over, something in her eyes told me this wasn't the full truth. And when I looked toward Daniel, I saw the same thing. A flicker of something that didn't belong. Guilt. Or maybe fear. I slipped the ring back into my pocket and stared at both of them. This story wasn't over. Not even close. The night should have ended right there, with sirens fading, handcuffs clicking, and answers laid bare. But as the police cars disappeared into the distance, taking Jason Miller with them, something about Emily's face kept clawing at my mind. Her eyes weren't relieved. They weren't grateful. They were haunted. She stood by Daniel's car, arms wrapped around herself, staring down at the dirt like she was watching a ghost fade. When she finally looked up, her lips trembled, and for the first time that night, I realized she wasn't crying out of fear. She was crying out of guilt. "William," she whispered, voice breaking, "I didn't mean for it to go this far." My chest tightened. Go this far? I took a step closer. "Start talking. All of it." Daniel shifted uneasily, avoiding my eyes. That alone told me there was more, way more. Emily exhaled shakily and sat on the edge of the car bumper. The streetlight above it flickered weakly, casting long shadows across her face. "I didn't lie about everything," she said. "Jason was stealing from us. I found out 3 months ago. He'd been rerouting payments, selling our supplies under the table. I confronted him, and he threatened me." Her voice cracked. "He said, if I told you, he'd burn the bakery down, and he had proof that could ruin you." I frowned. "Ruin me? Over what?" She looked down at her hands. "The loan." I stared at her, confused. "The one you said came from Daniel?" Daniel finally spoke, his tone low. "It wasn't for me, Will. Not exactly." "Then who?" I demanded. He hesitated. "It came from a man named Clark, local investor. Emily signed for it using the bakery as collateral. But she didn't tell you because—" Emily cut him off, shaking her head. "Because the contract wasn't clean, William. It was illegal money." Her words hit me like a slap. "Illegal? What are you saying?" She looked up, eyes glassy. "Clark launders cash through small businesses. Jason was his middleman. When I found out, I panicked. Daniel said he'd help me expose them both. He knew some people in law enforcement. We staged the whole thing tonight to record Jason moving the stolen cash, but he got suspicious too early, and then you showed up." I ran my hand over my face, trying to breathe. The entire night started to twist into something uglier, something I could barely recognize. "You were working with Daniel? Behind my back?" I asked. She nodded, tears falling freely now. "I had to. Clark's men were watching us. If they found out I'd told you, they'd go after you too." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But all I could see was her laughing with Jason, wearing the apron I'd bought her, lying into the phone that morning. "Then why pretend to love him?" I said through gritted teeth.
Her shoulders shook. "Because he wouldn't have trusted me otherwise. Everything I did was to protect you, to protect us." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush us both. The only sound was the wind moving through the broken boards of the warehouse. Daniel finally stepped forward, his voice calm but urgent. "Will, she's telling the truth. I have copies of the recordings. I've been passing them to the state investigator. Clark's operation runs deep. You were never supposed to see this side of it." I turned to him slowly. "And why didn't you tell me? You were supposed to be my friend." He looked away. "Because I needed her cooperation to get close. If I told you, she wouldn't have been able to play her part. You're too honest, Will. Clark would have smelled it from a mile away." I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was stand there, feeling like the floor under my life had caved in. "So what now?" I asked. Daniel sighed. "Now we disappear for a while. Lay low. Clark's people will realize Jason is gone, and they'll come looking for answers. We can't go home." Emily grabbed my hand suddenly. Her skin was cold, trembling. "Please, William, whatever you think of me, just trust me one last time. I did this to keep you alive." The night air felt electric, too quiet, like the whole town was holding its breath. I looked at her, the woman I'd loved for 20 years, and for a moment, I couldn't tell if she was my savior or the final nail in my coffin. Then headlights appeared again at the far end of the road. Not police this time, no sirens, just a pair of slow, steady beams cutting through the fog. Daniel's expression changed instantly. "That's not them," he whispered. Emily's hand gripped mine tight. "William, they found us." The car rolled to a stop 50 feet away. Doors opened. 3 figures stepped out, shadows moving with purpose. And the first voice that spoke wasn't a stranger's. It was deep, calm, almost polite. "Mr. Dixon," he said, his accent sharp and slow, "we need to have a little chat about your wife's missing shipment." My blood ran cold. The air was thick with dread. 3 silhouettes moved closer, boots crunching on gravel, the beam of their headlights slicing through the mist. Emily's nails dug into my arm. Daniel's hand slipped into his jacket, but I could tell he was shaking. The tallest man, dark trench coat, slicked back hair, eyes like cold glass, stopped just 10 feet from us. He smiled faintly. "Mr. Dixon," he said, voice smooth as oil, "I think we've got something of yours. Or maybe," he looked at Emily, "you've got something of mine." Emily stiffened. "Clark, please. Jason was supposed to deliver the files. They were never meant to leave your circle. I can explain everything." He raised a hand. "Oh, I'm not interested in explanations, sweetheart. I'm interested in balance. Jason went missing tonight, and that means someone owes me money, or blood." My pulse roared in my ears. "You're not laying a finger on her." Clark turned his gaze on me, amused. "And who are you again?" "Her husband." That earned a small laugh from his men. Clark took a slow step forward. "Then you already know how expensive her little mistakes can be." Daniel pulled his gun halfway from his coat. "Don't move." The men froze for a second, but Clark didn't flinch. He just sighed. "Mr. Davis," he said, nodding to Daniel, "the undercover officer who thought he could outsmart me with a bakery scam. You think I don't have eyes everywhere?" Daniel's hand tightened, but I could see the fear flash across his face. "Drop it," Clark ordered quietly. The 2 men beside him cocked their pistols. I stepped forward before anything exploded. "This isn't on her. You want someone to blame? It's me. I found out about the money and I destroyed your shipment." Emily turned to me, horrified. "William, no!" I didn't look at her. "You said you wanted balance? Clark, you take me, you let her go." For the first time, his smirk faded. "You'd die for her after she lied to you?" I met his eyes. Love doesn't vanish just because truth does. A long, cold silence hung in the air. The wind moved through the trees, carrying the faint smell of wet earth. Clark studied me for what felt like forever, then nodded once. "All right, Mr. Dixon," he said, softly. "Let's see how far that love really goes." The next second exploded. A flash. A gunshot. Daniel tackled me to the ground as billets cracked through the night. Emily screamed. Sparks flew off the metal door of the warehouse. I rolled over and saw Clark stumble back, clutching his shoulder, bleeding. Daniel fired again. One of Clark's men dropped. The other bolted into the trees. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called backup. Clark tried to raise his gun, but Daniel was faster. The final shot echoed through the valley. Then, everything went silent again. Emily ran to me, tears streaming. "William, are you hurt?" I sat up slowly, dazed. "I'm fine. You?" She nodded, trembling. Daniel stood nearby, breathing hard, the gun hanging loose at his side. "It's over," he said quietly. "The feds are coming. Clark's operation just collapsed." But Emily didn't look relieved. She just looked empty. "William," she whispered, "I didn't just hide the money. I signed your name on the loan papers. If Clark's men don't come after us, the government will. I thought I could fix it before you found out." Her voice cracked. "I ruined everything trying to save you." I stared at her, the woman who had been my world, and for a moment, all the anger and betrayal just drained out of me. All I could see was the fear, the regret, and the truth that love sometimes makes people do unforgivable things. The police lights painted everything in red and blue. Officers swarmed the scene, taking statements, bagging evidence. Clark was gone. Jason was gone. Daniel disappeared into the chaos, promising to handle the rest. Emily and I sat on the hood of the car as dawn began to break over the horizon. She whispered, "Do you hate me?" I shook my head slowly. "No, Emily. I just don't know you anymore." She turned away, silent tears falling. And in that pale morning light, I realized something painful. Love doesn't always end with shouting or slamming doors. Sometimes it just fades, quietly, between two people who've seen too much. Months later, the bakery closed. Clark's men vanished into prison cells or graves. Daniel testified, then left town for good. Emily moved in with her sister in another state. We still talk sometimes. Birthdays, holidays, nothing more. I never remarried. I still live in that same old house, alone now. Sometimes I drive past the bakery sign, faded and peeling, and I remember the night everything fell apart. The night I thought I was testing her, but really, fate was testing me. Because the truth is, when you think you're protecting love by keeping secrets, you're only building a wall between two hearts. And once that wall cracks, no amount of forgiveness can rebuild what was lost. So if you're listening, William's voice ends softly, love hard, but never hide behind it, because the truth always finds its way home, even if it burns everything along the path.